Okay, so let's face it, you are a photographer, you've been taking photos for like a year or maybe even less, and you've just been seeing on the internet and probably even other photographers discussing raw. And you're kind of like, well, I've been taking photos on JPEG, they've been fine, but maybe I should know what the hell raw is, and maybe I should be taking photos in raw, but what the hell is raw? So guys, today I'm gonna be discussing what the hell raw photos are, the advantages and disadvantages of taking photos in raw. Okay, now I'm gonna be skimming over this topic because there's a lot to talk about, and this video will be like 30-40 minutes long, and my mouth gets like super dry super quick. So yeah, and also I feel like a lot of the times, man, you don't really need to know the specifics of bitrate and all this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna just skim over this so that you have a good understanding of what the hell raw is, so that when you go out there and shoot in raw, you know what you're doing. So guys, what the hell is raw? So raw is basically when there's a lot more information recorded in that photo, so that when you take it into the editing stages, you have so much more versatility with editing. Whereas with JPEG, there's not as much information being recorded in there, so that when you take it into editing, even making a minor adjustment will do a huge bomb on your photo, man. Let's say, for example, you have an overexposed photo. If you wanna, in JPEG, like fix it and you bring the exposure down, it's gonna just make your photo super dark. Whereas in raw format, when you edit it, you bring the exposure down, it won't make a huge difference, which means you have a lot more versatility to that change. Now this is a huge importance when you're editing photos, because let's face it, you don't always have time to make those adjustments in camera, because there might be a specific moment of a bird flying, you just got to take the photo. If you take it in raw and it's a little overexposed, a little underexposed, you have that versatility in the editing stages to fix it perfectly. Whereas in JPEG, you don't really have that option. So a lot more information being recorded in raw for you to fix the photo, not enough information in JPEG for you to fix a photo. Simple as that. So let's talk about maybe 4 reasons as to why you should be shooting in raw, the advantages of shooting in raw. Number 1, exposure. This for me is the most important thing. I do a lot of concerts and I don't really have time. You'll have light sometimes really like flashing as soon as you take that photo. Now in raw, if I take that photo and it's a bit overexposed, I can fix that in post super easy because I have so much versatility. I'm going from one spot to another. Sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's light. I can't change it, all the time like that. So I just take the photo in continuous mode, and when I take it into the editing stages, talking so quick. When I take the photo into editing stages, I have that full versatility because of the amount of information that's being recorded in there to then fix that photo, fix the exposure, man. That is so important. You can take it from like a full blown out photo to then a nice, well exposed photo. I will also at the end of this video, by the way, show you my before and afters, especially with a lot of overexposed photos. Overexposed and then once I fixed it up, all being taken on raw. So exposure, you can fix it, and that's very important. Number 2, temperature. Let's face it, man. You're going from one place, you're going outdoors, the temperature is like nice and cool. You come into an elevator, you take the photo, and it is just brown, dude. It's like brown like that, okay? Now, if you're taking a photo in JPEG, you will not really be able to fix the temperature, man. Unless, I don't know, unless you're like a wizard or something. When you take that photo in raw, once again, because there's so much information being recorded in there, you can make those adjustments so that you can fix the temperature. You can take your very brown photo and turn it into a very well temperatured photo. So yeah, temperature. Number 3, saturation. That's what I almost forgot. So there are a lot of times when I take photos and the saturate, usually my camera, for some reason, it kind of removes a lot of the color. And if I was taking photos in JPEG, bringing that saturation up, even if I bring it up a tiny bit, bro, it looks like you are in an acid trip photo. The colors are just way too overexposed. It looks like, I don't know, just very amateur, It looks like you've added one of those amateur filters onto your photo, and it's just made everything super red, super green, and it just looks tacky as hell, okay? Now, when you're taking photos in raw, once again, because there's so much more information in there, once again, we're talking about information because that's what raw is. There's more information in that file. When you bring it into editing, the amount of changes, especially individual changes that you can make to the photo with saturation. There is so much more versatility in there. You can save a very flat looking photo and bring it back to life. I remember this one time in Ireland, I took a photo. It was just this beautiful view, man. I think we were like at the edge of a cliff or something, and it was so bloody flat. And because I took the picture in RAW, I was able to really bring it back to life and make it look like it was summertime. Absolutely insane. And once again, because you're taking it in RAW, because there's a lot of information in there, you can go wild with editing, with the saturation, with bringing the colors back, removing them, because there's so much information in there. My God, I feel like I'm repeating myself so much that, I don't know, you just have so much versatility, especially with individual photo. And not just that, but also the overall photo. If you bring the overall saturation up, it won't go crazy with the saturation. It'll bring it up in a nice fluid kind of like, you know, increase or decrease. So yeah, you can really bring a photo back to life with the saturation when you take a photo in RAW. Now, number 4, sharpness. So when you take normally when you take a photo in JPEG, the camera will usually apply like its own sort of like look to the photo. It'll sharpen it, it'll, you know, add this, it'll add that, which you can usually change in the menu settings. But yeah, it'll usually add it, and usually because the software of the camera is generally okay, it's usually alright. But when you take the photo in RAW, you have full power over, especially sharpness. This is the most important thing, because the amount of times I've missed sharpness because I've taken the photo super fast and it's been a gorgeous photo and I'm just like, yo, okay, I need to bring the sharpness up. Now the problem is that, you know, in JPEG especially, if you bring the sharpness up even just like a little bit, it'll really mess up the photo. In RAW, you bring the sharpness up, it has a nice gradual intensity to it, and then you can get to the point where, okay, it's starting to affect the photo now, so I'll just leave it there. But you know, you'll find yourself at like 20%. The photo is still saved, and the photo is, you know, a lot more sharper. So, very important, sharpness. Now, once again, it is all to do with editing. That's why people take RAW photos, because when they bring it to editing, especially if you're starting to get into editing a lot more, okay? Shooting in RAW means you have so much more things you can play around with, so much more versatility in the editing stages for the photo. You can do a lot with it. So I can go on forever with the contrast and all that, but you know, overall, basically, all these adjustments, you can make them so that they, you know, they fix your photo. But there are also disadvantages to shooting in RAW. Nothing to do with editing. This is mostly to do with storage, okay? So, number 1, it takes up a lot of space. Now, obviously, if you are doing a lot of work, if you're doing a lot of commissions, then you can just add like a hard drive cost to your invoice and you're sorted. Because, you know, if you're out on a job, you're taking, you know, 500 photos in that one job. You bring it into, you put it into your hard drive, man, it's just gonna take so much space. And you're gonna find after like 5-6 projects, you need a new hard drive. I use always 1 terabyte hard drives, and within like, you know, a month or 2, it's full. So it takes up a lot of space on your camera as well. So you're gonna find like a 64 gigabyte SD card is not gonna be enough. I have like 128 gigabyte SD cards, and they tend to do okay for now. But yeah, it eats up the space on your SD card, it eats up a lot of space on your laptop, it eats up a lot of space on your hard drive as well. So bear in mind that it will take up a lot of space. So maybe be selective with when you take RAW, when you take JPEG. If you're going on a holiday and you're not really gonna do much with the photos, take them in JPEG so that even when you store them just for memories, it won't eat up your space on the hard drive. Number 2, battery. Oh my God, man, where's my train of thought? So, now I take photos on a mirrorless camera, so already my battery is being eaten up a lot. So I have to have like 10 batteries with me at all times, okay? But generally, if you're taking photos in RAW, because your camera is working a lot more because the photo is in RAW, it's gonna eat up your battery even more. So, you know, if you don't want to spend a lot of money on batteries, maybe you should be shooting on JPEG, unless, you know, you're in a specific place where you need to shoot in RAW, then you shoot the photo on RAW. But yeah, if you're generally just gonna shoot pictures in RAW all the time, you're gonna need a lot of batteries, which cost money. So yeah, takes up a lot of battery life as well, very, very quickly. For me, those are kind of like the only downsides to shooting in RAW, space and battery life. Also, sometimes if I do take continuous mode, my camera needs a bit of time to kind of like have a break, and I'll find myself just waiting there for like, you know, maybe, I don't know, 10 seconds. It's not that long, but you know, when you're taking photos, you're in the mood and you're just like waiting. Yeah, it's kind of an inconvenience, I guess. So your camera is working overtime when you're taking photos in continuous mode. That's what continuous mode is. And when you're doing it in RAW, man, big files, big files. So it needs a bit of time to just kind of like take a breather. Whereas in JPEG, not really an issue. But yeah, those are really my downsides to taking photos in RAW. Quick fact, by the way, if you are taking photos to print, let's say for example, you're at a family birthday and you know, you're like, maybe I should take photos in JPEG because this isn't super important. But then you're like, but I want it printed and put on my wall, you know? You will need to probably take photos in RAW because if you shoot it on JPEG, you know, you're taking a file like this, you're making it that big, it's gonna get degraded big time if it's on JPEG, because the printers, they need they need the big files, they need the RAW, they need the TIFF files. And in order to have those files, you know, you need to take photos in RAW so that there's a lot more information in there, so that when you take the photo from this, you blow it up to there, there's enough information so that the photo is still, you know, very high quality. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, ask any questions. I'm more than happy to dive into this even more. I find a lot of people, they'll go into my Instagram, ask more questions. More than happy to help. I always answer. So yeah, keep me updated, guys. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Here's a montage now of all my photos before and after. I generally take my photos either overexposed or underexposed. I take them very quickly and then I go into editing and I really fix them a lot. So here they are, raw formats. Enjoy!